Well, hello there. BizDex here, giving you an interesting video. Not really a video, more of an. It's
podcast.
Yeah, with some flashy things
podcast.
to do.
Yeah,
I think podcast is more accurate.
Yeah, something along those lines. So, how about we all give ourselves some a little bit of an introduction.
Start from the top of the list.
Yes.
I guess that would be me.
In the Discord.
Discord.
Oh, and he goes mute. Okay.
Hey,
Hi everyone,
What?
My name is Celestial Outsider. I've been GMing for a while, and I've been gaming pretty much ever since I could.
Drex?
hi, my name's Drex. I lurk. Not much to say about that. I'm also a GM.
Yes. Matt?
Sir lurks a lot.
Matt,
Hey, I'm Metgaff. Yeah. I'm Metgaff. I wish I were able to do a little more recording at the moment, but this is what I can do.
And then, of course, we have to save the best for last. I'm Kel. I'm the probably the only one here who's been roleplaying for over 15 years. Just kidding. No, there's actually some really
That's
good
a
veterans
goddamn
here.
lie.
It is not. I have been DMing longer than you even
No,
knew
no.
what roleplaying was.
That is not true.
To be fair, she's
Adrian.
been since she was like 4, but
Fair enough. Adrian, technically, how long have you been DMing?
Shh.
okay. If you want to get to the true technicals, it was 2nd grade. Okay, dedicated GMing.
Okay, you beat me on that. I've technically only been since like 5th grade.
We still
But I
haven't
wasn't using
introduced
the system
everyone. Come on.
until I wasn't using any proper systems until high school.
Nerd, you still haven't introduced yourself.
Yes, I'm Nerd Dragon 88.
Yeah, only where this video is going to go live on. I mean,
Yeah. And there's one more person who has not been able to introduce themselves yet.
Well, I'm Pilot. Don't have a whole lot of experience with GMing. I just started really getting into it. I have a lot more experience as a player.
good.
Don't we all?
And everyone here knows me as Raxmo. I know it's such an old archaic name that I have for myself. I'm now BizDex, but who cares? I have been playing D&D and GMing for about 7 years. Like, actually solidly been DMing and playing for about 7 years now. So, I guess now that the introductions are done, 3 minutes in,
Finally.
This is
so
going to be us
Yeah.
all talking about various topics involving tabletop gaming and our opinions and thoughts on things.
exactly. So this particular
Hello?
yes, oh crap, Metgath, he went, he turned off his. There you go.
Uh-oh.
He'll probably come back.
He'll be back.
There we go. Oh, but he doesn't realize.
Is he server deafened?
He's deafened. Yeah. I don't know why.
Someone talk to him
Oh.
in tabletop.
There it goes. Okay.
It randomly
Yeah, there you go.
disconnected my headphones.
Okay.
Oh.
So, this particular episode, which we're calling a session, is going to be Session 0, which is all about the importance of Session 0. However, before we get into the meat of the things, I feel that we should do a Session 0 on the actual series itself. Right?
Oh, that's so much work, though.
No, all that we're going to say...
Hold on. I completely agree.
Yes. So far from what I understand is that we're going to be continuously being a bunch of idiots talking about various aspects of playing tabletop role-playing games in general. Anything ranging between story building to world building to what kinds of players there are. The list is obnoxiously long. We have like 50 topics that we want to cover eventually.
Actually, it's
At least.
exactly 50.
Oh, nice.
And I'm sure it will grow
yeah.
as we progress.
Yeah,
Oh,
we are
certainly.
exactly at 50 at the moment, and I'm sure it's going to grow.
It's going to get a little longer than that.
As far as I know, we're pretty much going to be picking topics at random, or maybe some logic to it, and I hope that we're able to actually get a straw poll open so that you guys, the viewers, or listeners in this case, will be able to tell us what you guys want to know about D&D or other tabletop role-playing games in general.
Or any topic that's generally related.
Storytelling also
also
counts.
Yeah. You should also ask them to join the Discord, you know?
Why don't
If
you
they're
ask
actually
them to join
interested.
the Discord?
Yeah, why don't you ask?
Then join the Discord. Come on down to Dragon's Hold. Link is in the description.
Oh my god.
So,
Yeah, if Nerd Dragon comes up with a dedicated Discord server just for this kind of topic, then yeah, sure. Come by and ask us questions, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. At least I know I will. I'm not going to be talking.
I will
for
as well.
everyone. There you go.
pretty sure we'll all be willing to help.
And
Yeah.
just ask Nerd, I am more than happy to help aspiring GMs. I've broken you of how many habits?
Oh, so many.
Forcefully?
As I said, I was in second grade. Metcalf there was, what, junior high?
Yeah, junior high.
And I was running games for him.
Because I wanted him to. He's a good storyteller.
Yeah. So I guess the meat of this particular video is the importance or
Importance of
unimportance
Session
of
Zero.
Session Zero. Yes.
The meat and potatoes.
No, we're getting to the bread. The meat and potatoes are another way. We have to worry about the bread right now.
Gosh darn it. I want the main course now, damn it. I can't live off of bread.
Shut up. Appetizers first.
You can't make a sandwich without bread.
It's true, we do kind of need that structure in there to keep the meat and potatoes in
The
a
hell am
concise-
You're the spinach that nobody wanted to eat.
I thought I was eating soup.
Red balls are awesome. However,
Yes, they are.
for those who don't know what a Session Zero is, I don't think it's any of us, but it is a
Oh, do tell. What is a Session Zero?
Rex.
it's a gathering of players and the game master to talk out and work through elements of the campaign that you're going to be running before actually getting started. There's all kinds of things that can be covered during this. Including stuff like, who knows who.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would say that an important aspect of the Session Zero is very clearly, as a DM and also as a player, is clearly defining what your expectations are for the game.
And
If-
boundaries.
Yes, and boundaries. We all have boundaries, and we're bound to cross them at some point unless we know about them in the first place.
Seriously.
And yeah, like it's going to happen at least once, and we'll have a topic about when shit goes tits up.
Yes, we have,
It's gonna
Many.
happen at least once.
we have many.
If I may have the floor. If I may have the floor.
Yes.
Another important facet of Session Zero that is surprisingly rarely talked about is also ensuring that the players and the dungeon master or game master are comfortable in the same room for long periods of time. If you do want to do personal games.
Yes.
Very much so.
Yes.
And another big one, in my opinion, is making sure characters are done.
Yes.
Yes.
Session Zero.
Nothing will derail a session one faster than people showing up and half their character sheets are incomplete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, that's
Actually,
Audible groan from Nerd.
everyone. I actually just recently finished with a Session Zero just this last Tuesday with a group that I'm going to be running every Tuesday, and we got through doing everything. I looked over all of their character sheets, we determined inter-character relationships, did different things involving, I came up with a couple new things as I was talking with the players, comparing ideas, contrasting and whatnot, because it's also a good time to look over character backstories if you're running a game that has more intensive backstory orients to it. going through and reading all of them. I actually got several ideas from the players themselves on story hooks for later on in the game, just from this session 0, just by talking it out with them. And even if you're doing a session 0 with everyone, you can always pull people to the side and talk about secret little tidbits and whatnot that may come up in the future, or so on and so forth, doing little whispers and whatnot.
I believe we call that confidential intrigue.
Yes.
I call them whispers. But
Yeah.
everyone has a name for them.
Yeah, another good point about Session 0 is also it's a great way to test your scheduling. Because if you have schedule, if you have, a time and a place to do your sessions, Session 0 is a great way to test it, because if you have a player that can't show up at that time for whatever reason, it may just be a one-time thing, or it could be a particular scheduling clash. Another thing that I like to do for Session 0 is explain to my players the world that their characters are going to be living in. And that's a really...
Exposition, there we go.
Yeah, yes, exposition. For instance, I'm going to be running a game pretty soon where all the characters literally have no backstory, and I needed to tell them this before they even made their characters, otherwise they'd create a character with this long, drawn-out backstory, and then I have to be all like, oh, wait, your character has amnesia, so, the last week and a half of backstory writing that you've done is completely thrown out the window. Mm-hmm. It also allows your players to understand where you're coming from, and it also gives you, as a DM, a chance to understand what your players expect out of you, which is important.
And make sure you don't disappoint your players by telling them.
Just ask Nerd. I hate it when my character starts with amnesia. He did that to me so many times early on.
Oh, yeah, well, it was a super easy way of just giving you a character.
Yeah.
You wash up,
but yeah, that is
no memory of who you are.
You wake up in an alley, you don't know where you are.
But yes, this is stuff we're talking about. This is the importance of Session 0.
Yeah, because you might come up with a character, like, say that, it's in that very similar thing where, like, oh yeah, every character is going to have amnesia except for X, Y, and Z, and if you have a player who's all like, I don't really like playing characters like that, then this is important information, and maybe the campaign that you had in mind isn't necessarily right for everyone at the table. As a DM, your job is to make sure that everybody's having fun. If one person is not having fun...
And their job is to make sure that you have fun.
Yes. I mean... If one person at the table is not having fun, then nobody at the table is having fun. And that is one thing that it literally only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. One person, it's very easy for one player or the DM to drag everyone else down with them.
If I may, I've got an example to support that.
Just don't use names.
Yeah,
I was going to use Solomon. I was going to use Zoggy. Anybody who knows Zoggy, literally that's all I need to say. That is the best example of one person not having fun, derailing the fun for everybody.
Yeah. That actually brings up a question I would like to address.
Yes.
Is the characters that aren't necessarily having fun, but what about the characters, the players that just kind of like to go with the flow? They're not necessarily against it, but or it's just kind of, okay, this is happening.
Well,
those can be very valuable players, to be perfectly honest. When you're doing things that are possibly experimenting or something like that, but also as a GM, if you're not excited about it or your players are not excited about it, there's D&D in its nature requires, especially if you're doing a long form campaign that would require a session 0. It's very good to sort of test the waters, because if you're going to be putting that much time into it, that much energy into it, you want to be at least a little bit jazzed about it.
And that actually brings up a really good point about session zeros. You don't necessarily always need one. For instance, if you're just going to be doing a one-shot with pre-generated characters, then why do you even need a session 0 in the first place? Your session 0 is going to take about 5 minutes saying, hey, we're going to play this game with this system in this setting, here's your character sheets, and then everyone just starts rolling dice. That's
However,
the extent of
it
your session
also
zero.
depends on whether or not the players are allowed to build their characters, or if you're using pre-generated characters. If they're building their own characters, you're going to get together with the players individually, in which case they each have their own individual session zero where their character is developed.
Exactly.
And I did almost a combo with this most recent one that I was speaking of. I let them know what was going to happen, a vague of where they're going to be and whatnot. I let them know ahead of time, and then they each started building a sort of a character idea before then we all got together for a real true session zero. So we kind of did a blend of both of those styles.
Session -1, I guess.
Yeah, a little
In
bit.
case any of you haven't realized, there's a lot of contradiction as to what session zero actually is.
It's one of the biggest reasons we're having this talk.
Exactly. I mean,
Well, that also
It's a very broad term.
yeah, session
one thing I
zero.
would like to kind of apologize for in advance is, seeing as how I'm kind of, the one with the least amount of experience as far as I can tell in this group, I am probably going to be asking you guys a lot of questions.
No,
No,
that's
that's
why
good.
you're
It's a
here.
good thing. It gets the discussion going.
We need someone to feed questions off of. It's a good balance to have.
Exactly. We need
You
the
need one that can ask all the questions.
exactly.
Right, that's what I like to do. I actually like to ask questions that get other people to think a little bit more about it. So,
Exactly. You're
all right.
you're you're the plug. You're the guy who is inexperienced in this, and you're asking the questions in real time
Maybe
so that
you
we
wanna-
know
Yeah,
what
but-
to bring up.
How about this? You're the one that's inexperienced. What do you want to know about a session zero?
Exactly.
What do you want to know?
He's basically our conversation catalyst.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
One question I had was, can one actually say session zero ever truly ends, though?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would believe yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say that session zero ends when you actually start it's session zero is everything that happens before the adventure begins. That entire chunk of time is session zero.
That brings another statement up. That's actually a good way to say it. Session zero can at times encompass more than one session.
Now, the reason I'm asking this is because I've noticed this with my own personal playstyle as a player. Is I'll build like a basic character of, this is what I'm aiming to build, this is what I like. But maybe a few sessions later, I realize, hey, maybe I could try something a little bit different, but continue with the same character.
That's just your character growing throughout the story. That's not
Exactly.
necessarily something that you do before the adventure. That's called character growth.
Which is gonna be a
Storytelling
topic.
devices.
Yeah, which is going to be a topic altogether. Another topic altogether.
The reason on this is because a lot of things like Eldu and Hell's my witness to this is if we're relaxing, not even in playing mode, I'll actually continue to ask questions about whatever the setting may be.
And continuous communication between the DM and the players is very important on building trust and building a good solid relationship for spending hours upon hours upon hours upon hours with these people.
Definitely.
Session zero is an excellent litmus test. You will be able to
Yes.
judge your players and the entire group dynamic very intimately as soon as you do a session zero, as soon as you're sitting down with everyone. You'll be able to judge how easy it is for certain players to get off track, sidetracked, come up with different things, and that will allow you to start. Session zero is a lot of work on the DM because you have to. It's a very powerful tool so that you can judge what to expect later on when you actually start playing. If your players are getting sidetracked a lot, then you can find that out immediately throughout session zero, and you can come up with tools to combat this to bring people back on track.
A note
And your
for,
session zero can easily become a session one if your players are focused.
Yes.
This is true.
Yes.
So go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to say, from a storytelling perspective for GMs out there, a good thing for the session zero is also a way to study your players and figure out, depending on the story you want to tell, hitting player against player's ideals. Not the player, but the character. Getting kind of an idea of what you want to happen throughout the story. Conflict of interest, for example, is a big deal there.
Yes.
That's also what I was saying earlier about the about reading backstories, about discovering characters throughout Session 0 to build story hooks throughout the line.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, and another great thing about Session 0 is that it allows you to get your players interested in the game that they're going to be playing.
Oh yeah,
it's a way to...
You want to paint a picture for them.
Yes, and it's a way to get them very engaged in it, whichever way that they choose to engage. We'll be covering different kinds of players that you'll encounter as a DM. You could have the characters that are very driven, or the players that are very driven, like Celeste. Celeste is very driven as a player. She wants to learn all the things.
I have goals.
Yeah, you want to learn all the things. And
all
there,
the things.
that's great.
You might actually be really good for the zombie apocalypse game I want to start.
I also want to start a zombie apocalypse game. Oh no!
I also want to start a horror adventure game.
Yeah, so that game I've been talking about for a couple years now. Well, once I get my tablet, if I can run the Roll20 website properly, I'm going to start it, and then we could record the Session 0 and post that on here as well.
Yes.
That way people can see what an actual Session 0 is.
I've been desperately trying to get the party back together for you and the others for Outbreak Undead. So I mean, I could always help you with that.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And so, it's not going to be Outbreak Undead, because I want to be able to allow the party to grow in power.
Okay.
So it's going to be more like, I believe I was going to run it in Pathfinder, so the party can actually get stronger.
See,
Pathfinder without magic.
See, this is a perfect example for you viewers to see what the thought process of a Session 0 is like, because that is a perfect example. You're coming up with, what system am I going to be using? What world is it going to be? What changes to the rules I'm going to make?
Which is why most Session 0s last so long.
Yes.
Yes.
Mine lasted solidly a month. A good solid month.
Yeah, it can be daunting, and it also depends on how complex you want your campaign to be.
And the length of time it lasts for also depends on whether or not you're able to get everyone together at once.
Oh my
If you're able to get everyone together at once for the Session 0, it goes by a lot faster, because you only have to explain something once.
Yes. However,
that's actually funny enough that we're using Discord. I actually facilitated a lot of my Session 0 through Discord. Shout out. Because by using pinned messages and by having reference points for my players to go back to regularly if they needed it.
Yeah.
I've also done this through having a Google Doc that all of my players have continuous access to repetitively. I did this for my Dragon Age game that I've been running. Everyone has access to all the rules, all the world building, everything that they need to know at the tip of their fingers whenever they need it.
I really should.
I love that.
Same.
And that's why I actually do the same thing for Threlden. I make sure that all the characters have access to the edible files on Google Docs, as well as the master character sheet. They can't edit the master character sheet, but they can look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Which copy paste is amazing, and that's another thing is that throughout these discussions we're going to be throwing a lot of names and a lot of tools at you. After I'm putting all this together, I'll start to put annotations and links to the various tools that us experienced DMs use all the time. And that's another thing, is that Session 0 also allows you to facilitate and figure out not only a schedule, but a method of play, too. Because if you know a bunch of people from all over the country, you can't physically meet up in someone's basement or someone's, living room. Or,
and so,
I'm in Oklahoma, and most of them are in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It creates
temporarily in Oklahoma.
I actually feel like I should also mention there actually are some examples on YouTube already of some Session 0s.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are called Episode 0.
Yep.
There's one for Pugspire of Beacon Tundra.
Uh-huh.
which was a really kind of cool and fun one. And there's one for Titan's Grave.
Yeah,
Ooh,
and
good
also,
one.
and
That was
also
a good one.
another thing is this is also on Geek and Sundry's tabletop series. Whenever Will Wheaton busts out a new RPG system like the Fate Core or or any of the other ones that he does include a bonus video of their Session Zero. Again, a lot of those Session Zeros are very system dependent, I've noticed, especially on tabletop. But if you want to get a better look at like an overall Session Zero, then I highly recommend like Titan's Grave or some of the other ones. Geek and Sundry is amazing. I mean, if you're watching us,
just go over to their channel.
Just go watch their channel.
Oh, there's also Roll For It.
Yes.
They've done some amazing Session Zero tech stuff.
Yes. And again, another thing that I do want to point out, before we even get into the beginner's DM tips, that I do want to say here, is do not be intimidated. We all had to start somewhere. My first session was not nearly as good as my latest campaign. Okay.
And that will forever be true for everyone. Everyone slowly learns their style over time. Every pseudo-professional GM you've ever seen, all of them had a beginning. All of them had a terrible, awful first session that they were just like, oh god, and they were trying to like low-key fight a panic attack in the beginning because they're like, oh god, I'm doing something new.
Yes.
And here's a perfect example. If you show the party, so to speak, the dragon in the very first session, and they choose to fight the dragon, let them do it because they're just going to kill themselves.
Yep.
And then they say, okay, so do you want to restart?
Yeah.
A perfect example was I was reading something online about this person that started a game, and it was a level 3 party, I think. I told Nerd about this previously. And he had a level 10 party butchered by a dragon, just totally annihilated.
Oh, yeah.
And his party was like, we're gonna kill it.
No.
And he was like, are you sure?
Are you absolutely certain?
Yes. Okay, the dragon breathes on you, you all die.
This is a tip to all the players out there. If your DM just has a shit-eating grin, it's time to be afraid. If you say something and the DM goes, and the DM goes,
it's not when your DM has a shitting grin. What you need to worry about is when your GM looks at you and says, "Are you sure?" You hear those 3 words, that's a red flag.
Or if they just start cackling maniacally.
I've heard those words too many times.
What does that tell you?
Do you want to roll for it? Question mark?
Here's a sign.
I'm just saying, what does that tell you? You hear those words.
Be concerned.
Or any variation thereof.
Like, not directed at me, just towards Aaron and Solomon.
Are you sure about that?
My favorite thing about Solomon is the fact that every time I'm in a game with him, and this is why he doesn't want to play with me anymore, and he starts acting up, I beat the hell out of his character.
Oh, to be completely fair, it is deserved. It's normally in my games that he does it, and quite frankly, the boy's a little bit of a what's the word we used earlier? Game breaker? Murder hobo. There we go.
It's usually with a healing strike too, so I don't actually hurt him. I heal him, but I pound him right back into the combat.
Also,
that reminds me
to be fair, for those of us who don't know, a murder hobo is a character that has no backstory, doesn't have a house or a home or any cares in the world other than killing shit and taking loot.
Yes.
No. A murder hobo is not a character. A murder hobo is a player who only cares about role-playing through the fight.
Okay, yes, that's true. That's fair.
I thought we were just going to describe murder hobo as a living weapon.
That also works.
Purpose but to destroy
That
pretty
also
things.
works. No, but taking loot is also an important part of a murder hobo.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing:
But
is
they
that,
live for the killing.
yeah, and here's the thing: is that you will be able to tell if a player is like this very quickly in a session 0, especially when they decide to roll up a orc barbarian with all the feats and everything, and you're all like, "Wow, this guy is min-maxing." That's another pin for another episode. Don't worry. If you don't know what min-maxing is, we'll cover it later. But they start min-maxing.
I'm sure we will discuss my character Ugg in that episode extensively.
Yes.
Also, several other characters that we've all had.
Yeah.
Admittedly, Ugg was built as a joke. But anyway, back to the topic.
Yeah.
Desmond.
For the sake of love, we need to talk about a certain somebody when we talk about min-maxing characters. Certain mage who connected to a fountain.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
We'll get there. We will
The
definitely.
backlash of which is going to hit my universe.
So, moving on. So another thing is that you'll be able to tell if someone's a min-maxer or a murder hobo immediately during session 0, because you'll be able to tell it just by the way that they're rolling up their character, and if you ask them, "What's your character's backstory?" and they can sum it all up in a single sentence, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Also, there are several times where session 0s won't go so well, and once you're done with the session 0, you realize maybe some of your players aren't the players you wanted. Maybe they aren't very jazzed about your story. Maybe like the vision. Maybe your the players and the GM had a disconnect in communication, and they both had different ideas of what they wanted to go on. Those are perfectly acceptable. It's what the session 0 is for us all to try and get on the same page.
Yes.
That's the whole point of a session 0. And so I've had games completely fall apart after a session 0, only to be replaced by a better game. Or I've had to be like, okay, dude, you one player that, like, do you actually want to play this game? Like, because it doesn't really seem like it.
Yeah, and it's also, like, a session 0 is a great way to define what the game is going to be about and the boundaries that you're going to set. If you are going to be a DM who's going to be very rulesy, that's fine. But you need
Just
to
let them know.
Yeah, just let them know. If you're going to be very loose on your rules, let them know. So that if the rules lawyer player shows up and says, "Well, actually on page 37, paragraph 4, it says this," you can be all like, "Dude, session 0. Not doing that."
Home rules. Another episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, homebrewing. Everyone does it.
Also,
I freaking love homebrew, man. That's my jam.
same. I have several binders for each of my games.
I've made my
But-
entire system
And
from
I
scratch,
bet
okay?
Ethan and I built 2 or 3 systems so far. I think it was 2.
I've literally built 3 entire universes with their own separate systems. Homebrewing is glorious.
Homebrewing is amazing, and we'll have an entire episode dedicated on
There's
how
multiple
to do it
episodes where
properly.
we'll be talking about homebrewing.
Oh, yeah.
It covers so many different topics. That
Also-
one word covers a lot of topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also covers
Also-
settings, though, which is, yeah.
Yeah. Also, another thing about Session 0, it also gives you an opportunity to, if you do have any homebrews, which are essentially custom rules that you have in place just for your games, just for your table, to essentially explain all of those to your players as well, just so that they're not caught off guard by anything like, "Oh, I thought this thing worked this way," and then you can be like, "Well, I mean, I didn't tell you that earlier." And then you realize, oh crap, you didn't actually tell anyone your custom rules that you've made for this whole system.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
Good way to pull us back to the topic.
Yeah. That's... Yeah,
There's
that's...
a
Yeah.
there's a bit in The Gamers 2 Darkness Rising by Dead Gentleman Productions.
Oh, also really good. Go see it.
Yeah, highly recommended. Where they just started their session, the whole party got wiped out because there was something that the players didn't know about that caught them off guard, and as far as they were concerned, it caused them all to die. But their issue was that they were all trying to be a bunch of min-maxing murder hobos.
Yeah.
And the GM there has several valid points, including the thing of, it was supposed to be a nasty surprise, and it's something that the characters didn't know, something that the players wouldn't know, because it's something that is not common knowledge within the world. In this particular case, it was the fact that the player got cut off from his spells, basically. He couldn't use any of his divine powers, which just makes him basically a fighter.
But, not a very good fighter?
Well, no, they had, as I recall, they had the good progression back in 3.5 for their attacks.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Good old feats. And then later on, they get back to it with the fresh group of the fresh characters, and one of the players is like, I'm playing an elf. And then the GM's like, no, dude, I already told you, which indicates that there was a Session 0. That he had told them that there was no elves in that world.
Yeah.
And that the campaign was specifically all humans.
Yeah, that's another thing, is that Session 0 allows you to tell you specifically and explicitly what is viable in your world and how the world works, and it allows you to impose an expectation upon your players. And that's another thing, is that Session 0 is really important, because if you're going to have, a player who's going to completely disregard everything that you've painstakingly put together, then
you might not want them in there.
Yeah, and another thing is that if you wanted to come up with a nice, broad, huge, expansive story with political intrigue and yada yada yada, but all your players want to play like fighters and have a lot of combat, then instead of scrapping your entire party and starting from scratch,
change it.
Yeah, maybe you should just take that campaign and just put it off to the side, and then come up with a different one. It might make your Session 0 longer, or your Sessions Zeros longer, but it'll allow you to understand where your players are coming from, what your players' expectations are, and what your expectations are of your players. And it allows you to assess who will actually work out in the group and who won't.
And also, this is a good opportunity for everyone involved, because as a GM, you're not the only one telling the story here. This is the whole point of D&D or Fate or Amber or various other gaming systems. Tabletop RPGs. The whole point of them is to facilitate communal storytelling. Usually, unless you just want to fight things and kill shit, then that's cool too.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, it's your job to amuse them and their job to amuse you.
Exactly.
We're all here to have fun. That's the whole point here.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with an entire campaign built around dungeon crawling, going through dungeon after dungeon after dungeon, and just murdering everyone in the face.
Or even being murder hobos.
Oh my goodness.
You can even, in theory,
So
be
many
murder
people.
hobos.
Yeah, we're doing the recording, bruh.
Wow.
I just took care of that. Alright.
Alrighty then. I've got another question, and this is more based off of my own experience as a small GM, is when I get a player that has never been introduced into any type of... My biggest problem is when I'm trying to actually verbally explain it to them without trying to trip over my own words as a GM.
I've had...
Yeah.
I've actually had to introduce several people into D&D as a concept. I interact with a lot of non-nerds, and I've had to do it for a long time, however much I would not like to do so. At one point, I introduced D&D to an entire cast of a play. I immediately introduce it to them first and foremost as a communal storytelling thing. First and foremost, that's because base form, communal storytelling and whatnot, and also beyond that, then go into little things. And I would not have them make a character first off. Like especially in things like D&D, making a character can be very intimidating.
Especially like Pathfinder or
Oh,
D&D
no, for sure.
3.5.
Are you saying it's better for them to spectate if they want, or if they are interested for their
Yes,
first
but
ever?
I'm not necessarily saying that either. More as in, have them tell you what they want. What do they want to do? Why are they playing this with you in the first place? Why are they interested in it at all?
What do they want to get out of it?
Exactly. Yeah. What do they want to get out of it? And then like if you want to take on the mentorship of guiding someone into D&D or tabletop role-playing games, if you would like to guide someone into that, make a character with them or for them with the concept that they want. Then slowly guide them through, maybe with a small group, maybe only like 1 or 2 players, just as a little mini session. Do like a little one-shot, just with really simple things, level 1 characters, just super bare bones, just to see if they like it.
Yeah, even pre-generated characters.
Yeah.
That's a great way to introduce people to the entire concept of it.
Yes.
And
which I completely agree with.
Yeah. And and that's the thing about like a good session 0 is it really is all about understanding your group and understanding the dynamic around at the table or virtual table, physical table. Doesn't really matter. And it allows you to it's a great way for you to watch out for those red flags, both as a DM and as a player, because you could be a player who maybe you're a player that has been playing for a long time, and actually that wouldn't really work because you'd already understand this, but
because personally, I've actually had several players that have played a bunch of different tabletops for years, and again, this is maybe my 3rd year as a DM.
Yeah.
So, I have really low experience. And, like, my first year I was playing for, like, 15 years. I'm like, And, and the pressure really becomes heavy on a new DM because they really want to, that's been playing for, so many years.
Yeah, and, and you also brought up something earlier about, like, tripping over your own words as a DM. It can be very, very easy to do. And you can also be very easily overwhelmed by your players, especially if you have really good players. Good players.
Or a lot of them.
Or a lot of them. Both topics we'll cover in more detail later. But and 2 completely separate episodes. But as a DM, it's very easy to be intimidated by your players and overwhelmed by your players. But the number 1 rule is have the confidence. If you hadn't planned on something happening, don't tell them that you weren't expecting it. Just be like, okay.
Make it till you make it. Make it till you make it.
Yeah, just lie through your teeth. Just keep the visage of.
Yeah, did actually have something earlier.
Oh.
Well, I was going to tell you to add something to the list. I'm not sure if it's on there since I'm just using a cell phone. Add a introducing new players as a topic. Because that is something we can go on for an hour.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yes.
Easily.
Also,
introducing... That might just be its own episode,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, introducing the
characters.
characters.
I said to add it as a topic.
Yeah, also...
I'm sure each topic can become its own episode easily.
Yeah. That's why we have them separated in different topics.
Yep.
As well as the topic of introducing characters in the middle of a game. Like, introducing new players. And also, sending players off is another great topic that we can do. And again, that's why we're having this particular episode, this session of talking about Session 0 as Session 0, so that you guys watching can understand what kinds of things that we're doing, that we have in store for you. And that's another thing is that, like, as a DM and you're tripping over your own words, just relax. And gather up your own thought processes and just let it happen. And a lot of things is that, like Celeste said, is that it is a collaborative storytelling method. So, as a player, don't be frustrated when the dice hate you. I, for one, even when I have methods of in-game mechanics or added mechanics to re-roll, we'll talk about that later, sometimes I just roll with it.
Adrian, Nerd, you want to tell him what I did? Or actually, I guess I should do it. About when the dice hate you. In our last session, which I'm sure you can find the recording of, I rolled a
The link is in the description.
Dwarven
Yeah.
Crusade
Yes.
episode 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I took a swing at an opponent in the middle of a bar fight, which was totally not planned.
No.
My character did not instigate that at all.
No, but I
And
did.
I rolled a natural 1, and I just went whee and spun around. So they totally did not even register as an attempt to attack them.
Yeah, it can be a lot of fun to just allow the whiffs to happen. But and that's another thing, is that sometimes when your players are in a situation where it's a very important thing that their characters perform well, but the dice are not showing the importance of them having to be able to play well, it's okay to just be all like, just re-roll that, or fudge your own dice. We'll talk about that too.
But GM dice fudging is important.
Yes.
That's going to be an episode later, by the way.
Yes.
Which I'm sure you will mention my Crystal Storm, Adrian.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That's a thing.
That was
that's
terrible.
And
So,
sometimes...
Kelly, you've been kind of quiet for a bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well,
At this exact moment, I've got nothing to input yet. I'm just waiting my turn.
You have no
And
thoughts?
we're generating additional topics now, which is another thing of session 0.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like I was saying, I got new ideas from all my players. I'm like, oh, excellent. I will ruin all of your lives, all of these new fancy ways now.
Exactly.
Well, that's got to be half the fun of us. I guess.
Yeah, that is part
Remind
of
me
session
not to be
zero.
one of your players.
No, my players love me.
Uh-huh.
I ruin them all in the best ways.
I concur with the statement.
Phrasing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no!
Okay, I don't know if this is going to make into a topic.
Oh,
later,
dear.
But I do have a player who I do some one-on-ones with, and we do a lot of kind of doing session 0 type stuff, except that it's not really session 0. It's we're in the middle of a campaign, and then we just plot out what's going to happen next in the one-on-one game.
Yeah.
I feel like that's almost veering towards straight RP story form, then continual.
It's not really like a proper session 0 though, because it's in the middle of the campaign,
Of course not.
and then we go and we do it for real later, for keeps, with all the dice rolls and all that.
Yeah.
Raising.
Mid-game planning is something that can be a lot of fun, and it's also a great time to throw in that little nasty little plot hook that you had in the middle of someone describing what their character is doing with the massive windfall of cash that they recently got.
I hate you. I'm one of his players, by the way.
Oh, that dragon attack was amazing.
Yeah,
So,
I think
and-
most of us actually playing in each other's games in some form or another.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing at Nerd's game and Raxmo's game. I am like pseudo RPing with Cal, and I'm playing with a game with Drex. The only one, and Metgath. The only one that I'm not actually playing or with or under is Pilot.
And I'm sure you'll end up playing in one of my games once I get my tablet.
Are
Yeah,
you
probably.
Drex?
At least one.
Like, my biggest problem right now is
Yeah, it's a small role play. It's in the Dragon's Hold. It's called the Chopping Block.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
but like
Which
my
I am currently typing out stuff for.
my biggest thing right now.
Glory be, save my freaking
Drex is
ass.
trying to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Pilot.
For Pilot.
Thing right now is, as a GM, I've had to stop trying to GM for a bit because again, with my little experience, my brain has just kind of stopped trying to function. Because I'll get like multiple complaints about, this can be improved or this can be improved. And so I've actually had to just pull all of my RPs back for the longest time, and so I can.
GM overload. I hate that.
And so, like, a lot of what I've been doing recently is, like, I'll talk to different GMs and try to maybe find new homebrew for the whole system, and it actually helps me come up with more campaign ideas. Mm-hmm. So my question is more like the lines of, would you guys consider that session 0 amongst their GMs, though?
That's not necessarily. That's not necessarily like a session 0.
It's prep work.
Yeah, it is prep work, but I would also say that that's a really big topic that we're definitely going to. Oh, that's what it's going to be. GM burnouts. I'm adding that to the list.
No.
See, and this is why I'm here. I like adding things to the list.
Oh yeah, we're at 61 things
Can
now.
we add another thing to the list? This is something I actually didn't see on there, but I just wanted to add, which is session role plays and posting role plays.
Yes, play by post is a very different
experience.
Yes, it's a very different experience than all playing together at a table at the same time. I'm actually going to probably be running several games that are play by post in the near future, and I've done it before, but it's a very different feel, and I like it a lot. It gets things done.
As far as online RPs go, it's a very old style.
Yes.
Because my character, most popular character, my favorite character rather, as Ray Debonair, it was originally play-by-post.
Yeah.
He was developed in a play-by-post campaign by my sister.
Nice.
And by the way, for those that don't know, play-by-post is when instead of you're around a table talking with each other about what you do in real time, instead you're essentially taking the time to write out a single action, whatever an action means in your game. That could be a day, that could be whatever your character is doing in an hour, in whatever it means for that particular game, but essentially you write it all out, and all of the players write it all out at the same time separately, usually, before turning them all into the GM, and then the GM takes all of that afterwards and then returns it back at you.
Yeah. And
it's a much slower paced thing.
Yes.
Otherwise everyone to have wonky schedules.
Yeah,
yes.
It does.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it allows everyone
Another topic. Scheduling.
Oh, no, that's already on the list. Trust me. What, is it?
Good.
If it's not on the list, then it better be. Yes, it is. I think so.
It is? No, I don't see it on the list.
Add it.
Okay.
That is
I'm
actually
surprised that wasn't the first thing on the list.
I know.
Scheduling is definitely a necessity for most games.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
the first thing that went on the list was one of the first topics that we were originally that I was originally discussing with people about doing this with, which was religion in your game.
Hey.
Yeah.
I will be so excited for that topic. When it comes on, I will be so jazzed.
Yeah. Same thing.
No,
Seriously, yeah, that's always a fun topic.
Yeah, same thing with like
It'll
racism
probably
in your
pop
game.
on pretty quick.
Religion and prejudice are two of my favorite topics
Yeah.
whenever coming into story and whatnot. And also, another thing, getting back to our whole point of this goddamn episode.
Almost an hour
another
later.
good thing for session zeros is to help sort of build what everyone wants, what everyone wants to do and Rax, I know that you were talking about this earlier about different people having different expectations, and then you as the GM having to conform a little bit and whatnot like that.
Yeah, and another thing is that again with like religion and racism and prejudices in your game world, that's session
definitely
zero.
a future session.
Yeah, you do that in session zero. You lay that all out.
Yes, you
You
do.
say these are the gods in this
You
world. This
establish
is what they do. These are the various less than preferable terms for various races in your world. These are the interactions between the orcs and the elves. Maybe your world, the elves and orcs are actually best bros instead of everyone else's game where they hate each other's guts and they kill each other on sight.
Same with elves and dwarves.
Yeah, same thing with elves and dwarves. You can define these things in your Session 0. Yeah.
Hey, they're like the Air Force. Everyone makes jokes about them.
Yeah.
Gosh, this really makes me think about how vanilla Threlden really is. It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have a vanilla game. That's another thing, is that your world is your world. You can make it however you want. I love to tweak absolutely every aspect, even like the things that are the most basic in all, roleplay settings, like, dragons.
His dragons are terrible.
My dragons explode.
And I hate them.
When you kill my dragons, they explode and then resurrect their dead bodies, and now you have to kill an undead skeletal dragon.
And his undead are the worst thing to deal with. Like, undead are just undead. They're like undead times 10,000.
So they're kind of like a phoenix then. All of his dragons are part phoenix.
There's a reason
I details of that whole undead thing, which is that they get more powerful as time goes on.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Oh my god.
There's a reason I made a paladin in his game.
There's a reason I have a cleric.
Yeah, except even though that's another thing, and that's another great thing about role playing games. You can make your world look the most unequivocally average as every other roleplay, world out there. But you can just
fantasy
tweak.
roleplay.
Yeah, that fantasy, or even sci-fi, and you can take one little aspect that's like the keystone and just turn it 180 degrees and just let everyone watch all your players' minds just get blown out of their skulls, and they turn to you and they all say in unison, "I fucking hate you." And you just giggle and glee.
That sounds like one of my old games. Drax, the Nexus.
Yeah.
Also,
dog whimper? What the hell is that sound?
that was me.
Yeah.
I'm also listening through like a really bad headset very much.
Oh.
It's just the FUD, so everything sounds like I'm in water.
No, that's
awesome. Also, another thing for Session 0, when you're dealing with extreme topics like religion, like racism and sexuality and whatnot, talk with all of your players and find out what they're comfortable with. Because, as we said before, we're all here to have fun. We all want to have fun, and so when you don't talk with your players about what they're not comfortable with, you can get into some hairy situations. Especially, like, I personally love doing horror stuff. I like getting into all them gritty details and just completely just squicking everyone out. But my players in several of my games don't really like that, so I don't do it, just because I talked with them beforehand and they're like, how about let's not?
Yeah, and in my main game that I'm running with Celeste and Nerd, I've literally just straight up, like, during my Session 0, I'm all like, there's going to be some topics that are going to come up that you may or may not feel very comfortable with. I'm warning you ahead of time.
And there are several people in the game that will mention, "Oh God, I'm uncomfortable with this."
Yeah, and then you can either very much downplay it very quickly and just move on if something like that comes up that you weren't seeing ahead of time. Like maybe a player thought that they were okay with a particular situation, and then they immediately realize that they're not okay with a particular situation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are learning about the rules of consent here on whatever we're going to be calling this show.
No. See, if we're going to call it something, it's got to be the Knights of Nerd. Come on.
Yes.
I still have no problem with this.
I also
Knights
agree.
Who say me.
The Knights Who Say Nerd?
Just the Knights of Nerd. The Knights of Nerd. That's like our group.
I'm actually going to start using that as a title for my own YouTube channel. I am Nerd. So I'm just going to throw that in.
Steal it? No.
I am here.
And
also,
also,
goes, I'm going to be dropping credit to this group from.
Wait. Celeste, since when is the rogue the one concerned about things getting stolen? I gotta ask that.
Hey, excuse you, what?
Not her who's doing it.
I'm not the rogue.
Really?
She's the bard.
That's true. Or the sorcerer.
Even worse!
That is my good sir.
No, I just charm you into giving it to me. I don't have to take it. What?
Yeah. She's the one that takes all the coin out of your pocket with a mere smile.
Yeah, you see me doing it.
And also, my reply to you about me stealing the Knight of Nerd as a title, it is not stealing it if I'm officially part of a Knight of Nerd.
Does have a point there. Touche. Also, it's about an hour. Do any of you have anything else that you would like to add to our Session Zero about Session Zero?
Oh, Maureen just went dead for 2 seconds.
Yeah, there were some live vehicles. Closing comments about Session Zero.
Yeah.
They're super necessary. I mean, if you're doing a long-form campaign, I'd say so. But I'd say more getting to know your players in a Session Zero is the best part of it. So even without heavy characters, even without heavy backstories or anything like that, just having a Session Zero just to get to know the people you're going to be spending hours with is really the important part.
And if you're a new GM, getting to know your own expectations as well.
And your own playstyle.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, and
because the GM is playing just like the players are. They're just trying to run the story. Trying, keyword, as I'm sure Nerd can understand.
Well, the GMs are playing a slightly different game.
Yes. Yes.
New topic.
Yeah. The game the players are playing, and the game that the DM are playing.
2 steps ahead of the players until someone like me shows up that derails the plot and jumps 10 steps ahead.
That's also another topic, yeah.
Your nickname is Roadblock.
As far as my last thought on Session Zero, I think the really important thing is for players and GMs alike to understand, like a basic rules of this is, you don't do this. Or for example, with me, I make this very clear in any session I run. You have to have a sense of humor. If you're going to take everything seriously, we're not going to have fun, this is not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some form of sense of humor. Understand that what I say as a GM isn't my actual views, or it's me trying to get a smile. It's like a stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Any session needs at least a few good laughing pops.
Oh, yeah. And another great thing that I'd like to add to about Session Zeros is that it's another great way to, as a DM, to let your players know that we're all just playing a game and trying to have fun.
Yep. Like, your game can be the most tragic, heavy-hearted thing in the world, but even if it is that, it's a... Well, not only that, but also we're all here to have fun. If that's what you want to do for fun, go for it. Just make sure everyone's on the same...
You cut out there, Celeste.
If your game is going to be the most heavy-hearted thing, even if that is what you do for fun, that's... Go for it, but just make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Well, and even then, a good example for this are, the really dark, gritty movies of today.
Yeah.
They're really dark and gritty, and it's depressing, but no matter what, there's at least 1 or 2 scenes that get the entire crowd to smile at least once.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
No! I can't...
Never even watched it.
Exactly, I'm the same boat, man. I can't vouch for that. I have zero experience with that show. It's never caught my...
It is very good at the balance of... Because it wants to be the dark, gritty show, but then it also has a good balance of not always taking itself so seriously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's carefully worded and carefully seen porn.
Well, you're not wrong.
I'm just saying.
Again, while we're wrapping up, Kel, do you have anything to add about Session Zeros? Closing comments about Session Zero?
I don't know, everything I would have brought up, you guys already covered. I'm good.
Cool. How about you, Drex?
Nothing in particular. I think we covered all the bases, and I'm just looking forward to the next episode.
Same.
Is it next Wednesday? Is it next Thursday yet? But you
I'm just looking forward to getting some sleep.
All right.
Not asleep, man.
Thank you.
It's 10:30 here now,
Well, the only thing
and I have to be up at 5 a.m.
Let him do his closing, man, so you can go to bed.
Yeah. All right. So, all right.
Thank you. Farewell. Until next time, be awesome to each other.
Woot woot.